Hi, this is John Doe, aka Frags with the DNB Academy, and this is the sound we're gonna be making today. Pretty dope, right? So yeah, let's go right into Serum and I'll show you what I did with it. So to get things started, all we have to do is select the first wavetable because that's the one that's gonna set the tone for most of this patch, to be honest. So for that reason, we can already bring this down 3 octaves because this is going to be responsible for the thickness of our low end. And then we're going to put this on the second spot of the wavetable position, which is a sine wave, right? So you can see where we're going, all right? Now, we're going to bring down the random phase all the way down to 0 and increase the level up to 100. So at this point, we should have something like this. So as you can hear, it's just a plain sub, nothing more than that, really. So let's keep up with the patch, keep on working on the patch, so things can get a little bit better. Now, we're gonna select our oscillator B and turn it on. We're gonna still keep this on a wavetable oscillator in this case. We're gonna go into Serum, wavetables, and digitals. We're gonna find this really cool one called AM sine harmonics, which is really nice, because if we keep breaking the wavetable position, it's just pretty much like a sine wave that gets squashed in, so it's really interesting for what we're going for. All right, let's bring this down 3 octaves as well, so we already have a little bit more grid. Bring down the random phase, and important, we're gonna set the wavetable position into 127, all right? So as you can hear, it already has more character. And then here on the warping, we're gonna go into distortion, and we're gonna apply a little bit of hard clip, all right? Increase it. See, it doesn't do much, but with all the automation that we're gonna be doing later, it's gonna make more sense, all right? So for now, we're just gonna keep everything as it is, no macros, nothing else. And by the way, just to wrap it up here, we're gonna increase this to 2 voices, just to get this a little bit wider, bring the detune like 0.17. And then to wrap it up, we're gonna go here to our wavetable, and we're gonna select another sine wave, all right? So, well, we can go to basic shapes, or we can just simply do as we did. The second slot is a sine wave. So we're gonna bring this down to 0 again, and just keep it as it is for now, okay? Because we're gonna do a couple stuff with it later. So first things first, we need to start actually shaping up our sound because it sounds stale. It has nothing to do with the final result we want. So let's start by designing our first envelope. For that, we're gonna use envelope 2 here on the main envelope section. I don't want to keep this one because I want something a bit more natural, and that's usually what these envelopes tend to be in comparison with these ones. They sound more natural. So we're gonna go with this one. We're gonna set the attack and alt as it is, but then we're gonna bring this one to 200. Somewhere close, doesn't have to be precisely this, it's really up to you and your taste. But yeah, here on the sustain, we're gonna bring this close to 0, and then we increase the release to like 1 second. And let's start assigning this to the important parameters in this case. So the first one is gonna be the AM sine harmonics. So we'll bring this down to 0. So you see, we can already hear a little bit of that bump coming through, all right? And then this one here, we're gonna leave it for later, because for now, all you have to do with this envelope is pretty much this and the main pitch of our sound. So we're gonna go into our matrix, select envelope, in this case, envelope 2, that's the one we're working on. Envelopes, envelope 2, and we're gonna choose the destination to global main tuning, all right? And we're gonna set the target here to 12%, right? With this direction on the mod. So we're starting to get this just as we wanted, but just a little thing here. We're gonna bring down the oscillator 3 level, because this is the bit we wanna hear. You'll understand that in a minute. Right, so already giving this the sort of like 808 filling, right? And that's kind of what we want with this, right? Now, let's add more movement to our patch. So next one, it's gonna be our LFO1, and we're gonna create just sort of like a shape like this, just as we were making like noise for a snare or something, you know. Just gonna keep it somehow like this. Then we're gonna turn on our noise oscillator, and we're gonna go into the color ones and turn on the Geiger, right? It's a really cool noise for these sort of sounds. And we're gonna assign our LFO1 to the level, because we wanna have this, you see this grid of the noise is gonna help us with the distortion later. And I'm gonna open up the stereo a bit. And then just before moving on to the processing of our main patch, I'm gonna open up the filter, and I'm gonna use like one of those creative sort of like really harsh filters that we got on Serum. Go to the miscellaneous, I'm gonna go into band reject. That's the one I'm gonna go with. I'm gonna set the drive around 30% and the width pretty much like halfway through. And set the cutoff more like closer to the top end of our sound. This will help later when the distortion starts to come through, all right? So that's what we're gonna do. Let's flip the screen and get into the effects. So first thing, distortion. We're gonna go kind of simple with this one, but we're gonna add quite a bit of an amount with some tube. I would say somewhere around here. 85% should be enough. Now we're gonna wind up the sound a bit with some dimension. So we're gonna bring down the hyper and just slowly bring up the dimension just to get, again, a little bit wider. And then correct a little bit of all the muddiness that we got going on our mids. So we're gonna set this notch to somewhere around like 450 hertz. And now we can increase the main a little bit. Just so we can max out the sound. Cool. Now, going back to the main oscillator, just a final tweak here. We're gonna go into our wavetable on oscillator C, the one we kind of left behind, and we're gonna add a new LFO to it. This first one, we're gonna make like a super short one, obviously in envelope mode. Gonna make a shape just like this, you know, because we want to get a little bit more on the, like on the pitch side of things. So we're gonna assign this to the course of oscillator A. Gonna press Alt and Shift together so we can change the direction of our envelope here. And now you see, like, if we get this close to like 50%, if we shape this up, something more like this, starting to have that hardcore, kind of like hardcore drum and bass sort of sound, and that's what we're looking for. All right, and now to make this patch even better when it comes to attack, especially, that's where the envelope 3 is gonna come in. I'm gonna get set this LFO 3 into an envelope, and then I'm gonna make something even shorter and smaller than the previously made shape. So we're gonna assign this one to the level of oscillator 3 and also to the course of oscillator 3. Then we change the polarity again, and we're gonna pitch this up like as high as we can, like almost 100. You can go like 190, 80, somewhere around there, because this is gonna be the responsible, you see, to get this extra click. Especially if we set the phase to 90, it's gonna add an extra amount here, right? And we get our sound. Now it's a matter of tuning your cutoff to make different, because you can make stuff like this. You can make them a little bit more distorted, sort of like. And then obviously it depends on the distortion you want to give, you know, because if you apply some overdrive for instance, we can make this almost like a hardcore kick, which at the end of the day, that's kind of what we're going with this. But we're gonna keep this a little bit simple, you know, and just use the tube. So this is the sound, guys. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you on the next video. Peace.